where there was a lot of chatter. That would be surprising. I'm thinking inciting the crowd, maybe that had something to do with it.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. We need to talk about something that has been bothering me for a while now. And after watching everything that happened, I'm honestly at the point where I just cannot defend Stephanie White anymore. Now, before anybody jumps into the comments, let me be very clear. I'm not sitting here saying Stephanie White is intentionally sabotaging Caitlyn Clark. I'm not making that accusation. I'm not saying there's some grand conspiracy behind the scenes. But what I am saying is that when situations continue to happen over and over again, eventually people are going to start asking questions. And look, if you're somebody who already believes those theories, I'm not here to stop you. Everybody can make up their own mind. Personally, I still try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I think that's a healthier way to approach things. But at the same time, that doesn't mean I have to like what I'm seeing. Because right now, I absolutely cannot stand the way Stephanie White has handled some of these situations involving Caitlyn Clark. And yes, I know some people will say that's too harsh. Fine. But even someone like Venom, who gets criticized constantly for his takes, has built up a pretty substantial case over time. You may disagree with him, you may think he's too extreme, but you cannot say he has no evidence. The guy has been pointing to examples for months, and whether you agree with his conclusions or not, you can at least understand why he feels the way he does. Now let's talk about the latest incident. Caitlyn Clark received a technical foul that she simply did not deserve. I watched it multiple times, and I still don't understand how that situation resulted in a technical. There was nothing there that justified it. What's frustrating is the reaction afterward. When Paige Beckers gets hit with a questionable technical foul, people immediately talk about sending it to the league office for review. We've heard Cheryl Reeve do that countless times. Cheryl Reeve has never been shy about defending her players when she believes officials got it wrong. The same goes for Becky Hammon. Becky Hammon has publicly spoken out against unnecessary technical fouls and questionable officiating decisions. Coaches around the league routinely stand up for their players. But when Caitlyn Clark gets a technical foul that many people felt was completely undeserved, the response felt different. And yes, before anyone says it, I know the argument. Caitlyn Clark could have had more technical fouls this season. I've heard it all before. But that has nothing to do with this specific play. Every situation should be judged on its own merits. A lot of Caitlyn Clark's emotional reactions come after repeated missed calls. Whether you agree with her reactions or not, context matters. And one of the biggest examples came when Alyssa Thomas attempted to throw an elbow towards Caitlyn Clark. Thankfully, Caitlyn Clark managed to avoid serious contact, but that's not really the point. The point is that if a player attempts that action, many would argue it should at least be reviewed as a hostile act. If that elbow connects cleanly, we're probably talking about a flagrant 2 and an automatic ejection. Instead, the play ends with a defensive foul being called on Caitlyn Clark, and everybody is left confused. Meanwhile, Caitlyn Clark is visibly frustrated, and Stephanie White remains relatively quiet. That's where the comparison to Christy Sides comes in. Whatever criticisms people have of Christy Sides as a basketball coach, one thing she consistently did was defend her players. There were multiple moments when Christy Sides stepped in before Caitlyn Clark completely lost her cool with officials. She would take the technical herself if necessary. She would argue. She would fight for her player. Now, I still believe Christy Sides was probably better suited to be an assistant coach than a head coach. I think there were limitations in terms of adjustments and overall game management. But when it came to supporting players and managing personalities, Christy Sides deserves credit. And that's why so many fans are frustrated right now. Because whether you love Stephanie White or not, people expect a coach to publicly back their superstar in moments like these. But that's enough for me. Now listen to this.
About technical foul, the kind of skirmishes that happen in the game, how aware do you all have to make her, or she has to be about the 8 technical fouls and you get suspended for a game? That was her 5th tonight.
Yeah, I mean, she's got to be aware, certainly. I think there are some that we could do without. There are natural things that happen that, the energy of the game creates when you do get those. But there are some that we can be a little bit more in control. And so, yes, we'll continue to remind her. And I think she has to have an awareness.
Obviously, with Caitlyn getting that tech that then kind of led into that whole skirmish, just what was your perspective of what happened there, or what the officials told you?
Yeah, I mean, they said that Caitlyn got it for clapping, and so I guess that's taunting. And then I was talking to the officials about it when the other stuff happened, so I didn't really see exactly what was happening at the time. But look, like, it's competitive sport. Like, so that stuff happens. I felt like the officials did a good job, after everything of getting it under control. I appreciate the way they called it after that, certainly. But as a group, we have to be able to have our moment and then regroup and play with poise and composure. It can't continue to go on.
Kind of in that same vein, obviously, Maisha got her second tech in the next possession. Was that something?
All right, guys. Well, I want to talk about something that's becoming harder and harder for me to ignore. The more games I watch, the more frustrated I get with the way Stephanie White handles situations involving Caitlyn Clark. Now, let me make something clear right from the start. I'm not claiming there's some secret agenda against Caitlyn Clark. I'm not saying Stephanie White wakes up every morning looking for ways to make life harder for her star player. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that when fans keep seeing the same patterns, they're eventually going to notice. One of the biggest things that stands out to me is the difference in how challenges are being used. Stephanie White has challenged calls involving Sophie Cunningham multiple times recently. In fact, it feels like Sophie Cunningham gets the benefit of the doubt from the coaching staff whenever a close call happens. Meanwhile, Caitlyn Clark seems to be in a completely different category. Whether it's a questionable foul, a technical foul, or a controversial moment with officials, fans are constantly asking the same question. Where is the defense from the head coach? And that's what made the recent technical foul so frustrating for a lot of people. Caitlyn Clark clearly didn't believe it was a technical. She said as much afterward. A huge number of fans agreed with her. Yet the response from Stephanie White didn't exactly sound like someone preparing to fight for her player. To me, that's important because perception matters. If a player believes a call was unfair and the fan base believes a call was unfair, they expect the coach to at least push back publicly. Instead, it felt like the opposite happened. That's why I said the comments afterward practically guaranteed that the technical foul wouldn't be rescinded. If you're the league office and you're reviewing a play, it certainly doesn't help when the player's own coach appears to accept the decision. And let's be honest, the attention surrounding Caitlyn Clark is unlike anything we've seen in years. You literally have LASIK accounts going viral online because of controversial officiating involving Caitlyn Clark. That's how much scrutiny these games receive. Every whistle becomes a debate. Then you look at other situations around the league. Paige Bucher's had a technical foul rescinded after a controversial moment. Fans immediately brought up that example and started asking why similar consideration wouldn't apply here. The same thing happened with discussions involving Dejanay Carrington. People debated whether certain actions deserved technical fouls, while others argued players should be allowed to interact with crowds and show emotion. Whether you agree or disagree, those conversations are happening every single day. As for Stephanie White, my issue isn't that I think she's a terrible coach. I actually think she's a solid game planner. I think she understands basketball. I think she's capable of making adjustments during games. But coaching Caitlyn Clark and the Indiana Fever requires a different approach. Caitlyn Clark is a proactive superstar. She plays with emotion. She plays with intensity. Sometimes that means a coach has to publicly support her, even when things get messy. That's why so many fans still bring up Steph White versus Christy Sides comparisons. Fair or unfair, those comparisons exist because people remember moments when coaches stepped up and took pressure off their players. And look, maybe Caitlyn Clark and Steph White have a great relationship behind the scenes. Everything we've heard suggests they get along. Maybe Stephanie White has helped Caitlyn Clark more than fans realize. But publicly, many fans don't see that support. They see silence during controversial moments. They see technical fouls. They see frustration building. And whether people agree with that perception or not, that's the reason this debate keeps getting louder around Caitlyn Clark, Sophie Cunningham, the Indiana Fever, and Stephanie White. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one. Tell me what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe.